What's going on, everybody? Jolt here from TheTokenMinorities, and I am here with Season 3, Week 9 of the Major Pokemon League. This week against my friend Danekii. Definitely give his channel a look. It will be in the description below. He's a solid player in the format. I believe like 3 championships, so you know he's pretty good. And we played him earlier in this season and managed to escape with a nice victory. Then doesn't mean anything's guaranteed this time around, especially considering I've got grad school starting up here like now. So time is a luxury. But anyways, let's just go ahead and quickly look at his team. His team is Weavile, Goodra, Greninja, Torrent Greninja that is, Megalodion, Scolipede, Registeel, Emboar, Jolteon, Tauros, and Hitmonlees. So he has the broken piece of crap that is Megalodion, and then he has a bunch of other pretty big threats on his team. Not going to be easy to prep for, but you know, I think I come up with a decent team against him. It's not a bad team, most definitely. It's another one of those quick builds that I've unfortunately become accustomed to doing here in this league, but it is what it is. So first up, I am bringing this Scizor, which is my dedicated switch into Weavile. I'm bringing Rocky Helmet this time instead of an itemless Scizor because I want to break a potential Focus Sash on the Weavile, as that does appear to be probably the strongest possible set against my team, that being a Focus Sash Weavile, so I want to make sure that its Sash is not able to remain intact, therefore Scizor will always be able to beat it, and even with the Rocky Helmet, it's not even close to being a 2-hit KO from knockoff. Even if it gets up a Swords Dance, it should not be able to OHKO me, so Scizor is still a good answer to Weavile that way. This also helps me wear down the Scolipede, as I highly doubt he'll bring Hidden Power Fire on it, especially considering I'm potentially a rain team. And let's see, this is also pretty nice for the Registeel in terms of helping me wear that down as well. So that is the Scizor. Fairly defensive this week again, just to take those hits as well as possible. I really don't need the bulk to, or the offenses this week in terms of doing damage to him. I think the Rocky Helmet plus priority should be enough to do that job. So next up is the Mega Swampert. This is a, probably should have put this later in the team builder actually, but this is my Rain Sweeper this week, coupled with Politoed, which I'll show here pretty soon. Max attack on this, I want to hit as hard as possible. The investment here does allow me to outpace a non-choice Scarfed Jolteon in the rain, so that's pretty nice. That allowed me to put a lot of investment into my defenses just so I can pretty safely scout for Natural Gift Fire on the Weavile if he decided to bring that type of set against me. You know, Weavile is a pretty big threat to my team overall, so I do need to make sure that I have a couple responses to it, and that's kind of what this is. This is also going to be able to take a hit from Scolipede, set up my rocks against that, set up my rocks against Registeel, as well as against potentially the Tauros, or even the Emboar if it lacks Grass Knot. So that's pretty good. I do want to get my rocks up as early as possible this game just because it's really nice in terms of wearing him down, especially the Emboar, because I pretty much have to let Emboar wear itself down from recoil with this team, which is kind of annoying, most definitely. I would have liked to be able to apply more offensive pressure to the Emboar, but it's just such a big threat to my team in general. And you know, there's not a whole lot of options I really have for Emboar, so you know, I have to try to chip it away, chip, let it break itself down and kind of go from there. But I do have Substitute on this as well, just in case he wants to get cheeky and run a Shukaberry counter set on his Registeel, as this would most definitely get a free substitute against a Registeel every day of the week, unless he brings Seismic Toss, which I kind of doubt. So that's kind of nice. Maybe I can get up a free sub against the Registeel and take a couple prisoners with me if I have the rain up as well. So, you know, that's pretty cool too. And yeah, so that's the Mega Swampert. Then we have the Politoed. This is the first time all season I am bringing Drizzle on my Politoed as the ability with the Damp Rock, because I want to give my Swampert as many turns as possible in the rain. I also want to support Sylveon with rain to the point where he can switch in relatively easily on the Emboar. That also applies to Wobbuffet, which is also coming this week to help deal with the Emboar. So I felt Drizzle was the call this week. The only downside to that is it does leave me a lot weaker to Greninja, which could be an issue. You know, it could be an issue, but I felt like Drizzle was a necessity this week, honestly, as you know, Rain did really well against him in my first matchup with him, but I actually didn't bring Drizzle. I brought Water Absorb that week, I believe, and the Water Absorb Toad only really has one viable set. I don't really want to bring that twice, so I'm bringing Drizzle, and we'll just kind of see what happens there. I do have the Perish Song for potential Sub-C and Megalodios, or even just a Calm Mind Megalodios. It helps to wear that down. Ice Punch hits the Goodra pretty hard, and Scald for the burns. And then we have the Wobbuffet, pretty standard here, max HP, max defense, looking to trap either the Emboar or trap the Goodra. I think if he brings Goodra, it's probably going to be Assault Vest, so that's a pretty easy target for Wobbuffet. I should be able to trap Embor as well, especially if he brings a Life Orb or Choice variant, but if he brings any sort of status move that definitely shuts that down, or sub or something like that, that can be really annoying. But at least in the rain, I'm able to actually not get 3-8 KO'd by Embor, so that's pretty cool, most definitely, with this set. So that is the Wobbuffet. Then we have the Sylveon, probably going to be the MVP this week yet again, because he really doesn't have a whole lot that can wear this down. His primary ways of handling it are setup fodder for my other mons, those being like the Scolipede or the Registeel. Both of those are a free switch into Scizor and a free switch into Swampert, which is free rocks, a free sub, stuff like that, a free U-turn with Scizor. So, you know, Sylveon's really, really good against him, I think. And then Toxic helps ensure that I can beat all Mega Latias 1v1. If he brings sub Mega Latias against a team that has a Sylveon, then that's just not a good idea. So Toxic's a pretty safe call there. And if he runs Refresh, then okay, he got me and I'm going to get swept. But I don't think Refresh would come either, given the amount of coverage he really needs to be effective against my team. So overall, this is a pretty good set against him, I do believe. And I expected to put in a good amount of work. And then finally, we do have the Focus Sash Thundurus. This would probably be my lead in most situations. That said, if he doesn't bring Stealth Rocks, this can also be a pretty nice option late game with the Sash intact, as his Stealth Rock users are, let's see, his Stealth Rock user, he only has one, it's Registeel. Am I right on this? Yes, he only has one Stealth Rock user, and that's Registeel. So if he does not bring Registeel, then this thing is a free Focus Sash late in the game, which could definitely come in handy against his team. So, you know, this coverage is pretty strong against him, most definitely. When I get the Nasty Plot, I can also take somewhat 1v1 the Mega Latias. Mega Latias won't be a counter to this necessarily when I do have the Nasty Plot up. So as long as my Sash is intact, this thing should definitely be a menace to his team. Assault Vest Jolteon could be a little bit annoying if that's the route he decides to take. I don't think that's very likely. The more likely annoyance will be the Goodra, but I do have the Wobbuffet to trap that, so that is kind of the game plan there. So that is very quickly the team that I am bringing this week, and you know, it's going to be an interesting match, most definitely. You know, I guess we'll see. It's I don't know, like, my issue with this team is that it's kind of one-dimensional, and I'm trying to mix up how I present the team every week, but it's pretty one-dimensional. There's not a whole lot of things I can really do with each individual component of this team. They're all going to roughly fulfill the same role week after week, and that's just an aspect of this team that I really don't like to have in my drafts. I like to have a lot of versatility. This team really just doesn't really have that. So, you know, it could be hard with all these divisional rematches coming up now over these next few weeks, and I guess we'll just kind of see what happens on that. But let's go ahead and hop on over to the replay of this match. And yeah, as you can see, this is actually on Showdown this week, despite the fact that this is a Wi-Fi league. I think Danekii was having Wi-Fi issues, or just wasn't able to get to his 3DS on time or something along those lines. So we are playing on Showdown. You know, it's not a huge deal to me. I think I'm a little bit more comfortable on Showdown anyways, just because the damage calcs are all right there for me. It makes it a little bit easier. But, you know, there's also more hacks on Showdown, apparently. That's what I've heard. Apparently the algorithms are actually working out that way on Showdown, so that's a little bit dumb. But anyways, so let's just take a look at what he decided to bring. He brought the Mega Latias, Greninja, Scolipede, Jolteon, Embor, and the Goodra. So he brought probably an ideal team against what I actually brought, in that there is no Weavile, and I had built in 2 really good responses to the Weavile on my team, and you know, not seeing it's kind of annoying, but also kind of okay, because I really didn't want to deal with it, most definitely. But you know, I do also notice that he did not bring the Registeel, so there's no Stealth Rocks coming, which means I don't actually have to lead Thundurus, which is kind of nice. You know, it could, I don't know, it's kind of nice, but considering what he actually brought, Thundurus doesn't look very good against him at all. Like, I think all the things that Thundurus really would have taken advantage of, he did not bring. So that kind of sucks, most definitely. That kind of sucks. So Thundurus isn't amazing in this matchup, but with the Sash intact, I should be able to at least do some damage to something, which is all I can really ask for, I guess, from it this game. But in terms of Wobbuffet trapping, I probably want to target the Embor or the Goodra if I can. I think it might be smarter to target the Goodra and use Politoed as my switch into Embor until I scout sets, I guess, but you know, we'll kind of see what happens as the match unfolds. Swampert could have some issues as well, as the only thing it switches in and takes advantage of, quote unquote, is the Scolipede, as every single other mon on his team that he brought can actually have a grass move, which could you know, definitely ruin Swampert's day. So it's going to be kind of hard getting Swampert in as well, and without the Weavile there, Scizor is not exactly as useful. although it's still not bad against the Scolipede, most definitely, as it'll help me wear down Scolipede and also defog away the potential hazards that he can still have a lot of spikes and toxic spikes and stuff like that on this team, so we'll just kind of see what he decides to bring on that. But Sylveon looking like the win con this game, as seems to be the case pretty frequently with this draft, so it's kind of interesting how that works out week after week. But, let's go ahead and just hop right on into this and see what happens. So I do decide to actually lead off with my Sylveon, expecting the Greninja lead, and that does work out pretty well. So now I'm just going to be able to fire off a relatively free Hyper Voice as it goes into a Scolipede, which is a-okay because I do have a nice switch into Scolipede named Scizor, and it should be pretty free. I'm not really fearing HP Fire, and if he has HP Fire, I don't think it could Okomi anyway. So he sets up a Toxic Spike actually, which is kind of terrifying, but I'm just going to go straight for the defog. Even though the switch into Emboar is really obvious, I can't afford to let my whole team get poisoned by that Toxic Spike, so I do have to go for defog there. Now I'm going to go straight into my Politoed, setting up the rain because it does support my entire team pretty well, and he actually reveals the Will-O-Wisp on the Emboar. So I'll pause briefly because that actually means that my Wobbuffet cannot trap this, which is actually really bad because one, my entire team is hit by Will-O-Wisp, and really doesn't appreciate the Will-O-Wisp because I don't have Heal Bell this week on anything. But that also means that when Wobbuffet comes in, he goes for Will-O-Wisp. As I encore him into Will-O-Wisp, then I basically have to switch out and let something else get burned. So Wob cannot trap this. Wob can only trap the Goodra now, and that kind of sucks most definitely. But let's go ahead and continue here as he is going to pull the switch out into his Greninja as I pull the switch into my Wob, trying to catch the Goodra early, and unfortunately he makes it. I guess the switch into Greninja was good, but I thought it was, I don't want to say risky, but if he got burned from the Scald, he would have taken like, a ton of damage because that's a Scald boosted in the rain. But I'm going to pause here briefly as well because I'm so behind early in this game to this Greninja, so behind. And the thing is, like, I honestly think that my draft operates worse when the rain is up. It is a better team when the rain is not up, and that's bad for a draft that's supposed to be rain-oriented. So, man, I have so many issues with this draft. I can't even describe them all in one video, but, that's just something that I've kind of noticed throughout this battle, and really throughout a lot of my theory mining whenever I'm building teams throughout the season, is when I bring Drizzle, it actually makes my job worse because I don't really have the things to properly offensively take advantage of Drizzle, so I'm forced to use Drizzle for defensive purposes, which actually leaves me very vulnerable to offensive water types like Greninjas, so it's kind of an annoying cycle to say the least. But let's go ahead and continue as he does just go for the Scald versus my Wob. And, this actually is probably the end of Wobbuffet as he goes for Spikes. So I just go for the Destiny Bond there just in case he wanted to do something cheeky. And this means that I'm going to be able to easily encore him into Spikes because he's not going to attack me there most definitely. So he is stuck going for Spikes as I'm able to get a few rounds of leftovers back with Wob, which is pretty nice. But now I can go straight into my Scizor knowing that he's locked into Spikes. This is again a very free defog as he's no doubt going into Emboar, but it cannot have these Spikes up on the field. My team is so weak to Hazard, so I have to defog. And here comes the Emboar. So now I'm pretty much forced to go straight into my Toad again, as it's my only real switch into this, and I know I can eat up a Flare Blitz most definitely. He's already revealed Will-O-Wisp, so I highly doubt he's Choice Banded, and so now I'm actually going to be able to go for the rest, as he must have feared me outspeeding him. That's possible, I guess. I don't really know why he switched out there. I disagree with that play, but I guess it is what it is, and for whatever reason, Greninja is his dedicated switch into Politoed. I'm not really understanding that one too much, quite honestly. I'll be interested in hearing his commentary there, as I would think Goodra would be the switch into Politoed, but I guess that's not quite the case, as he is going to fire out the Dark Pulse. I'm just going to wake up and rest again, as if I can keep this thing at least relatively healthy, I should be able to take on the Emboar, as it appears he does not have the Wild Charge to hit me, which is kind of nice. So now I'm forced to sack my Wobbuffet because I'm so weak to Greninja when the rain is up, so that's awesome. And Wobbuffet unfortunately is not going to be able to take on the Goodra later on. But I am just going to go into my Sylveon. I have to essentially try to dodge the burn and take this thing out because it's such a huge threat, and he does not get the burn, fortunately. I was kind of hoping he'd just go straight for the Gunk Shot there. I imagine he had it, but I did bring the Kabai Berry again, so it would not have been able to do much damage to me at all. So here, he actually progs the Kabai Berry with a Poison Jab. I knew that I would survive as long as he wasn't Life Orb or Choice Voice Banded, and I decided to go ahead and take that risk as he was a spike stacking variant, so I didn't really think he would be Life Orb. It was possible, it was just a little bit less likely. I thought it was more likely to be a berry, like a resist berry of some sort, but he does decide to go for the SD, predicting my Protect, which is a nice play on his part, but I do still have a nice switch in named Scizor, and even an Earthquake or Rock Slide would not be able to take me out of this range. So he does just go for the Mega Horn, and that does activate my Rocky Helmet as I'm able to get off a Defog. He is now easily in range of Bullet Punch plus Rocky Helmet damage, which is exactly what the set was designed for, and if I get rid of this, it gets rid of his last means of laying hazards. So I am willing to accept this trade of Scizor for Scolipede, because that means that hazards no longer will be on my side of the field. It is now my job to get hazards on his side of the field. So I lead off with Sylveon in this situation. Not lead off, I go into Sylveon, and I just go for the Protect, scouting for what his super effective option is for Sylveon. It happens to be Sludge Wave, and unless he's Choice Specs, he has no chance of taking me out from that range, so I'm just going to stay in there and get off the nice Wish as he pulls the switch into his Mega Latias, which I thought was kind of interesting. I think Emboar should have been the play there personally, but he does just go into his Mega Latias and sets up a Calm Mind, as this is a pretty free Toxic for me, and now at this amount of HP, the only way he has a chance of taking me out is if he is Modest Max Special Attack and goes for that Psyshock, but I don't expect him to be Modest for one or Max Special Attack, so I do just decide to set up the Wish, Protect here, expecting him to maybe try to catch my switch and go for the Psyshock. So we are in the process of slowly wearing down this Mega Latias, as it looks like it's going to take like 2 more rounds of Toxic. I know I can survive the Psyshock, so it's my play again to go for a Wish, and then I can pretty easily just go for another Protect here. No reason to do anything else, as this is easily my win con, as I can actually 1v1 his entire team if this does not have Roost, because with the Rain Up, Emboar cannot beat me either. So it's looking really good for Sylveon here, most definitely, as now I'm just going to go into my Thundurus. I do have the Focus Sash. It's not looking super useful against his team outside of doing damage to the Emboar, so I felt my best sack, quote-unquote, was the Thundurus, despite the fact that I do survive. But now he goes into his Jolteon, as I'm just going to go into my Sylveon. It seems relatively safe. He's not going to go for a Volt Switch against this, and he reveals Shadow Ball, and then he does not click Volt Switch in the next turn, so I am very, very sure this is a Choice Scarf Jolteon at this point, as I'm just going to go straight for the Wish and then Protect up, as I don't really fear this thing too much. I don't think it's a bulk up set with Will-O-Wisp. It's possible, but I don't really think that's Dan's style, so I do think it was pretty free to go for Wish Protect there. And then I'm going to go straight into my Politoed, as he goes for the Flare Blitz, which is fine. It does like no damage, and he is going to pull the switch right on out into his Goodra, as I pull the double into my Mega Swampert, expecting that. Now this is really my only opportunity to do anything with Mega Swampert, given what he brought, and you know, that's why I really dislike Megas with a 4x weakness, because they can really be useless in certain matchups, and he has the Power Whip, obviously, so I'm going to lose my Mega Swampert here to this thing with doing a good amount of damage to it, but you know, it's kind of annoying. Now here, I am going to pause, as this play determined the entire game, as if Goodra did not get the poison on this turn, Sylveon easily 1v1 the rest of his team, because with Rain Up, I could 2-hit KO the Emboar, I could 2-hit KO the Jolteon, and neither of them could even get close to 3-hit KOing me. So Sylveon easily 1v1 the rest of his team, given what my assets were that were remaining, but because he gets the 10% poison off of a Sludge Wave, here I'm actually in a terrible position, because now he can wear me down with Jolteon to the point where he can win with Emboar, he can wear me down with Emboar to the point where he can win with Jolteon, and etc. Fortunately, I'm able to take out the Goodra here with a Hyper Voice, but this poison was so stupid. You know, this is 2 straight weeks. I'm trying not to rant too much, but this is 2 straight weeks that this kind of thing has happened in this league, and it's kind of annoying, I'm not gonna lie. I got frozen last time against Aura, and then I get poisoned here at the last possible opportunity against Dan, which will cost me the entire game, so that's pretty awesome, most definitely. So I do just go into my Thundurus there, expecting him to potentially go for the Thunderbolt, the Volt Switch, thinking it'd be too risky for me to go into Thundurus. I think my only play was to go into Thundurus there, just in case he did make the misplay, as if he did, that would actually give me a perfect opportunity to win. I would have a much better chance to win. That was one of my few opportunities remaining to try to win the game, so I had to go for it there. But, you know, I'm not going to be able to take on both the Jolteon and the Emboar whenever my Sylveon is poisoned, because he will be able to actually 2-hit KO me, I believe, with the Thunderbolt and the poison damage. So that's pretty sucky, most definitely, as Jolteon's pretty soon going to be able to just clean me up, as I again pull the double into Sylveon, Sylveon. I can read this man like a book, but it doesn't really matter because of the poison. So, you know, he gets a crit here. It's meaningless. It doesn't really matter, as I just go for the Hyper Voice, hoping for a Super Mega Ultra crit, but that doesn't quite happen. And unfortunately, we're going to lose Sylveon, followed by losing Politoed. So we lose this game 2-0. You know, I'm not too pleased with that result, if you couldn't tell from my disgust at this game right now. I don't know, I feel like I'm tilting a little bit, which, like, I don't know, I don't think I'm playing poorly either. I think my luck has been bad at this game for quite a while, but I don't know, lately it's been especially bad, like really, really bad. And I don't know, like, obviously if I spent more time on my teams for this league, / had a better draft, I think I would be, you know, a contender. I'd be right up there, I believe. But, you know, given the team I'm working with, given my fantastic luck this season, and just given the time I put into my teams, it's not too great for me in terms of being where I want to be at the end of the season. That said, I'm still in the playoff hunt. I believe the team itself is now like 4-5. I'm 4-3 with it, which, you know, it's okay. I would rather be, you know, 6-1 or whatever. But I guess it is what it is. There's not a whole lot I can do about that. But we do lose this game, and, you know, I believe we're actually still, I guess it depends on the outcome of Jordy's game against Blake. I think Jordy and Blake play. So I actually might be back in the playoff picture, like the predicted playoff picture, even with this loss, because it was a pretty close loss. Basically, if Blake beats Jordy by more than 2 differential, then I'll be in the playoffs, or projected to be in the playoffs. So, you know, we're not out of it, but man, I don't know. I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. I need a break. But, you know, I guess we'll figure out what to do about that as we go. I'm probably going to be bringing on an assistant coach to help me out for these last few weeks. I'm not sure how many of the games I personally will be playing. You know, I might suck it up and still play them, but directly after this match, I felt like I really needed a break because I can feel the tilt starting, and I don't want tilt to affect my my perception on a format that I know I really do deep down enjoy. So we're just going to kind of see what I decide to do on that. I'm going to try to let it simmer a little bit for a few days before making my final judgment on how I want to proceed with the final 3 major Pokemon League games, as, you know, we're still in the playoff contention, but I personally don't feel like I can keep going at this point, but I think we'll see what happens on that. But thanks for listening to my rant, guys, and you know, thanks for watching the battle as well. Let me know what you thought in the comments below, and once again, check out my boy Danekii. He is a solid player, most definitely, and, you know, hats off to him for pulling off the win here, despite my despite the unfortunate luck that I will claim here. But yeah, that's about all I have to say. So thanks for watching, guys, and we will see you all next week against Moxie Infernape, or Blake, the man who gave me my first loss in this league a few weeks ago, and we'll just kind of see how that goes. So see you then, guys. Peace.